You're listening to Ideas and Leaders podcast.
Leading volunteer organization, I find very, very challenging. I mean, I was the president of Speaking Club Toastmasters International, which, you know, and also there, you have volunteers there. You have people say like, yeah, I'm going to do that. But after 3 months, and they say like, oh, I have something else to do, so I need to leave. And
I know
you have others
that.
say like, yes, I want to organize this. That's great. And so like, okay, great, please do. And then, hey, are you organizing? No, I didn't have the time yet, but you know, the event is coming, so it would be great. So, I mean, these kind of things where you have no formal authority, but still need to influence and want to bring people forward, I find very challenging. And talking with a lot of volunteer organization leaders, that is really one of the big challenging fields. What I've learned there, what works very well and very nicely is as a leader is not to focus on the day-to-day per se, not to doing always the individual task, but at the beginning, especially with a full leadership team, really putting a couple of guardrails together. They do really think like, okay, that's how we will approach it. This is the meeting rhythm that we will have. That's how we will do that, especially also putting, I'm a fan of this one, like a leadership scorecard together, like really, so we as a leadership group, as a leadership team, I see that's how we measure ourselves, and then really living up to this. And once these guardrails are set in place and everybody is a bit involved in this and sees like, okay, so we'll score ourselves, we'll give ourselves feedback, and there's a kind of rhythm and so on towards our leadership. That's where that helped a little bit, or not that helped quite strongly, but also not always, but that helped a little bit with really getting everybody really also voluntarily on board and so on. So I found that, especially in this challenge, is a very nice thing. And ever since I've been doing this in volunteer organization, but also in professional context with a full leadership team, really setting together not only the vision, but how do we give each other feedback? What is like the scorecard and so on that we give ourselves?
Yeah.
So that was one big challenge. Another big challenge certainly is the very first leadership roles. The first time that you get into what I would call official people management. That certainly is, for everybody who's ever led anybody, is a big change. I always say there's 3 stages of leadership. First, you lead in a professional development. First, you lead very often a project. You're responsible for a certain field and so on. But it's you, and you need to influence others. You need to work with others. And then very often you get in a professional business context. Then you sometimes get into the first leadership role where you're responsible, maybe then for leading a group of people. And then later, the third stage is when you become a leader of leaders, so to speak, an organizational leader. So you still lead individuals, but they also lead others. I think these are very often the 3 stages, and they are all very unique. And what is sometimes difficult to describe to somebody who has never been in the second stage, who's never had a formal leadership role, is what that entails, because you have all these dreams and thoughts, and okay, when I am a leader, I do this and this, and then you're confronted with reality. Then you are that you have all these big thoughts, and then somebody comes like, yep, here are my biggest here are some questions I have for you. And you're concerned, you think like it's big vision and so on. It's like, okay, so my email header, what should that look like? Or I want to take a couple of days here and here, and you really see like, oh, that's very different from what I had in mind, actually, what will be. So that was I wouldn't say a specific challenge, but that was that is just something that I vividly remember, the first that discrepancy, so to speak. And how do you overcome this? And how have I overcome this? Is really like getting in, doing something which I call defining the leadership code. How do I want to lead? But also with everybody else, how do they want to be led? And then that's what I recommend everybody who gets to the second stage of leadership really to be and to have, is really like sit together at the beginning of your your interactions and define and share a bit like, okay, this is how I lead. This is what is important for me, but also what is important for you. How do you like to be led, so to speak? And these are very interesting conversations. And I think you can go ahead with this. I mean, you can really cope with these challenges. And the third one was certainly in 2008 when I became CFO of Belgium. I still vividly remember I joined that role on the 15th of September, roundabout of 2008. And if you look at the timeline of this, that was round about the time, like one day later on the 16th, I think, is when Lehman Brothers collapsed. So it was the start of the financial crisis. And I still remember how much of a roller coaster that was to lead an organization as well, like in terms of the financial business leadership as well, but also the individual leadership through times of a bit rocky roads and rocky crisis, which of course, over the past month we're experiencing as well. And there also what helped there was really, I would say, clarity and strong vision forward, basically, as well as strong connect with an organization. So that's in a nutshell. These are three things that came to mind.
Thank you for listening to Ideas and Leaders podcast.